Welcome back, everybody, to the SmallTown Collectibles YouTube channel. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr. So as you guys know, if you watch this show, I try to come up with a good way to introduce my guests each week. And I was kind of, looking into these guys just a little bit, and I came across their description on their YouTube channel. So I'm going to read that, and then I'm going to kind of come down with something else at the end. So here we go. We're a family of 4 and sometimes more. We spend our times geeking out over comics, toys, movies, and Mickey Mouse. After so many years of traveling from coast to coast and fandom to fandom, we've lost ourselves in the madness. That's how the Dorkeries became the Dorkeries, and we don't plan on turning back. So, if you go to their channel, you're going to see CGC unboxings, epic mail calls. You might see a hack. I'm just saying. And they put out one of the absolute sickest mystery boxes on the market today. Everybody join me in welcoming to 10 Questions, the Dorkeries.
Thank you so much. That was the best introduction.
Thank you. I haven't read that description in a long time. But it's still relevant.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of looking. I'm trying. I always do this every week, and I'm trying to figure out a good way to introduce. And I saw that, and I thought, well, that's great. It's a good description. And really, if you watch your channel, it really applies. So I thank you guys so much for coming on.
For having us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys taking a little bit of time. So, guys, question 1 is always the same for every guest that comes on. And it's what or who got you into collecting?
So I'll start. So my dad had a very nice Silver Age collection, but it was well read. He loved his comics. They were bought from a used bookstore, and he gave them to me when I was probably about 12, 13. And I read those things like crazy. Legion of Superheroes, Spider-Man, all the good stuff. And it was, it meant so much to me that he gave me those comics, and I knew they had some good value to it. And it got me going. And I just started doing that. And then, of course, Star Wars is the other thing that we're crazy about. And, he took me to see Return of the Jedi when I was a wee little lad, and so that's where my fandom started. So
I grew up on 80s cartoons. So I grew up on Ninja Turtles and all that, but probably when I really got into buying things because I loved the show was Power Rangers. When I was probably in middle school or elementary when I really got into Power Rangers and started making my mom buy me. I was like an 8th grader wearing like Power Ranger necklaces to school, which is really funny because that's our kids now. But it really went hard when the new Star Wars started coming out when I was in high school. And that's when I started collecting. I had Luke Skywalker toothbrushes. Nice. I started collecting board games that were Star Wars. That led into a huge collection of board games because I had to have the Star Wars board games. And then I started with Justice League Monopolies, and my Monopoly collection is huge. But that was probably my first big collection of dorky branded things.
Now, Farrah, did you have anybody that collected in your family, or was it just something that you just kind of started doing?
It was just something that I just started. And once my family knew that I liked it, they helped add to it. Yeah. So. Yeah.
My story is a lot like Drew's. I had an uncle that was a collector, and he sold at the flea markets. He, he was always hustling, doing something because, where we live, it's the coal mining industry. It's coal country. And, that business was up and down. It was always boom, bust, boom, bust. So he always had a side hustle. And his side hustle was selling comic books and basketball cards and baseball cards and things like that. So I grew up because it was my dad's brother. So my dad and I would always go hang out over at the flea market. So I grew up at the flea market and going and picking with my uncle. And then I grew up too. I remember going and watching Empire Strikes Back in the movie theater over in Kermit, West Virginia. There was a little movie theater over there. And I remember going and watching that. And it just now, as far as I guess my other question, I really wanted to know, and it's almost your origin story. When you guys met, like, did you both know, was that part of the attraction? Was you were both nerds? So was that part of it, or did you find that out about each other later?
So Andy and I have known each other since I was 4. We grew up on the same street, and we actually used to play Barbies together.
And we fought. We fought like cats and dogs. I would stand outside I've told the story before, so I have already confessed my sins and got forgiveness. But I would stand outside at the elementary school where she would come out of, just to wait for her to come out the door for me to make fun of her.
Mhm.
So, and I did that. I won't say I was a bully. She probably says I was, but I would wait outside for her to come out of elementary school just so I could see what did little Farrah do today that I could make fun of. So, but no, but we had a little gap of time.
I was 18
Yeah.
when we started dating.
Yeah.
And the attraction, I do think was a little bit over dorky things.
Yeah.
I liked that he reminded me of Chandler from Friends, and we kind of dorked out a little bit on that. And then, of course, we both dorked out over our love for Star Wars. Yeah. And
Harry Potter. I mean, she had an amazing Harry Potter collection.
I did.
And it was something that's like, okay, this girl can hang with me. And then when she walks in for the first time, walks in my room and sees all the collection that I had, and she didn't stop dating me at that time, then I knew I had a winner.
Well, that's how I knew my wife was the one, right? Because she has no interest, like none. I don't even know that she's ever watched my YouTube channel. Like, she probably hasn't watched the first episode of 10 Questions. It's just not an interest for her at all. Now, she'll watch the movies with me, as far as that goes. But I knew that when she saw all the comic books and all the different things that I had, and she didn't run, I was like, okay, all right, we've got one. Because, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, that had happened before. Somebody come in and say, okay, this guy's a dork. Because when I was younger, and especially where we live, because it's such a small town and everybody knew each other, that it wasn't really like cool, to now it's almost cool to be in the stuff that we're into. But when I was a kid, you kind of almost kept it hidden. It was like, you kept all that stuff behind closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that for you? Was it when you were growing up? Was it that way at all? Like, were you guys read as far as kind of keeping that stuff hidden? Like, we started playing basketball and sports and things like that, and I just didn't talk about it.
No, I had the Star Wars vintage collection, and actually there you can't see them, but behind the camera here you see all of my original vintage Star Wars Kenner toys. Awesome. I had the GI Joes, and we played GI Joes together. That was
GI Joes together when we were kids.
That's awesome.
So and that was a neighborhood, and the neighborhood, yes, did we play kickball and all that stuff in our neighborhood? Absolutely.
Her points never counted.
But her points never counted. I would never let her points count in kickball.
And she still remembers.
Yeah, but we had, between my collection and my neighbors, we had GI Joes, and she would play, and then of course she had the Barbies, and she already threw me under the bus. We played the Barbies. So we absolutely, we had the comics, we had everything, and it was never like in our neighborhood, in our hood, dorking out, was always accepted.
And I do consider, like, when I was in high school and things like that, I do think I was a dork in high school, but I've always been loud like I am now. That's one of the comments we get on our YouTube channel. Like, why are you so loud? Like, I've always been the dork, but loud to where I made myself fit in everyone else's clique. And I want to say people found that endearing about me. I don't know, but
I find it endearing because I have a daughter who's the exact same way.
Okay.
The exact.
As long as you've got a good personality, an energetic personality, a bubbly personality, people are going to accept you no matter what you're into. So, and that's kind of what we found growing up.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And did you have that, like most collectors, did you have that time frame where, you collected for a period of time, then you went off to college or whatever, it's when I was broke. That's what I always tell people. I discovered beer and girls and I had no money. And so I quit collecting, and then I kind of came back to it. Did you guys ever have that, or has it just been straight on?
Straight on, has never stopped.
We've bounced, like I said, from fandom to fandom. We've bounced from, like, I'm more into this and I'm more into this, but, like, we've never slowed down.
Yeah.
We've gotten worse, to be honest.
I love it.
We're collectors at heart, and so when we go in hard. So if something like Funko Pops pops up, and becomes big, we don't just say one or two of those. We go all in. Comics, all in. Figures, all in. Umbrella Academy, all in. So it's that type of thing that once that comes up and it comes in our life and we get one or two, that's not enough. It's like I say our collection is like Lay's chips.
Yeah.
You can't just have one.
Boy, I love it. That's awesome. No, and I am like that in a way. Like I have a lot of stuff from my childhood. Like I still have my GI Joes.
Yeah.
And it was funny because the things that you guys are talking about is very much like my childhood. And I played Barbies too. I'm not going to lie. I grew up with girls. I was the only boy.
Yeah.
And I grew up with a bunch of girls. And so I didn't have anybody else to play with. So in order to play GI Joes with them, I would have to play Barbies. Like it was a whole trade out thing.
That was exactly the trade.
Yeah. So, and we used to, now my friends as I got older, and where I live, it's not like a neighborhood, right? So the closest person that lives to me, like where I'm sitting right now, is probably a quarter to a half a mile away.
Wow.
Because it's the country, it's the hills. So it's just spread out. But when we were growing up, we used to ride our bikes and we would go play ball all day. Then we'd come back and go swimming. And then we would hit the hills. And we had like entire forts built up in the hills where we would play GI Joes. And like we had whole battle scenes set up. Like it was just super cool. It was just fun. I said, I think kids today are missing out,
Absolutely.
because of these, and just, I don't know, just the way life is right now, especially with COVID and having to stay in. Like we used to just nonstop. I mean, we're out from daylight to dark.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think toys are getting better. I think that they're getting, like the new Galactus that's coming out, which I went in and invested in. But when I was growing up, I had the Terrordrome from G.I. Joe. I don't know if you know the Terrordrome or not.
Oh, I have it.
And they just, to have that was like, and if the kids still had something like that today, because, man, there was so much to do in that. And I think that's, you're right. I think it's kind of got away from that. It's got towards gaming and stuff like that. But, hey, kids are, my son dorks out over gaming. So if they're dorking out over that, then let's dork out over that. I think whatever they can find and love and keep them off the street, so to speak. There's the old guy talking.
That's right.
Streets, let's dork out about it, invest in it, and whatever they love, we want to do.
I love it. That's awesome. All right. So question 2 is, when it comes to comic books, would you consider yourself a reader who collects? Or are you a collector? Because, people collect different ways. I mean, and that's okay. There's different ways. Like I am a reader who collects. Like I love to read. And I get really invested in the stories. And I end up with 40, short boxes sitting over here. Yeah. So, like, what is, as far as your guys, like, read or just collect?
He's the collector. I'm the reader who collects.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
And I here's what I don't read the actual comics themselves, because normally I don't do new comic book day stuff. That's not my thing. Nothing against it. I like the old stuff. I like the big keys. I like the first appearances. Behind me over here, I've got a stack of omnibuses. That's where my reading comes in. I read the omnibuses because, like I've got Captain America Volume 1 sitting there. I've got Captain America 100 over there. I would never, ever read that. I would never open that and read that. But absolutely, I'm a collector first, and I read trade paperbacks and omnibuses. And she is.
I read, and then if I love it, I buy everything affiliated with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, do you do new comic book day fair? Like, are you into the new stuff, or do you go back and
new stuff?
Yeah.
I like new stuff, and I still try to. So like if a movie comes out that I'm interested in, I'll try to do the research to know like what the background is behind it. But I mostly am a new comic book reader.
She is a Dark Horse lover. Anything Dark Horse that comes out, she's all about it. So all the stuff that she's done over the years, she's more independent. I'm not trying to speak for you here, but she's more independent, because I think that's where a lot of the things like Netflix and stuff like that, where she watches and she wants to do that. So I love finding her. When I go to New Comic Book Day, if there's a new Dark Horse #1, I'm getting it for her and letting her read it. So
that's awesome. No, and that's one of the things I found in doing this show is people collect different ways. Like there are 1,000 different ways to collect, truly.
Yeah.
And for me, which I started because when I would be at the flea market, you'd get bored, right? Because you're there all day. My uncle was there to sell and make money. It was his side hustle. So I would sit there on his thing. I could do anything I wanted. That was what was so cool about my uncle, is I could do whatever I wanted. I could play with whatever I wanted. I could touch whatever I wanted. He did not care. But I would sit there a lot and read books, whatever I wanted to read. And my most prized possession today, and I have a really good collection, right? Like I have true books that are investment books that I keep in a safety deposit box. But the other book that I have is a Firestorm #1 from 1978. That thing is beat to death, and I would give you my AF-15 before I would let you touch that Firestorm book.
Wow.
That is the book that got it all going. It was the first book he gave me. And it's just, that was so important to me as far as my collection is concerned. Like, it's in the safety deposit box. It's not graded. It's not nothing. When I go in there, I occasionally get it and read it. So, yeah. So, all right. Question 3 is, when it comes to hunting, and this can apply to toys or, anything, comic books, whatever it is. Like, what's your favorite way to hunt? Is it going to the LCS? Is it going to the antique store? Is it eBay? Like, what is your favorite way to hunt? Like back issues and keys and things like that?
I think here lately it's been Facebook Marketplace. I'm constantly looking for collections on there. When that dries up, we have we call it the Honey Hole, which is a used bookstore. So we love hunting there. And I'm still tried and true eBay. I'm still, I still believe there's good deals for eBay out there. Macari is another big thing for me as well. And I'd say that's the main thing. But then finally, yes, LCS. We have a wonderful LCS, Snake Eyes Comics. And he's just got great back issues. So I'm kind of all over the place. And then toys-wise.
What do you enjoy more?
I enjoy the eBay Macari. I enjoy sitting late at night just scrolling through. Do I like going through long boxes at a comic book shop? Absolutely. But we know that a lot of those have been picked through.
Sure.
So I like trying to find those deals. I think I enjoy trying to find the deals on Macari and eBay and stuff like that. What about you?
I enjoy the used bookstore and antique stores the most, but I'm a quick looker. I'm not like stay there for hours. I'm like, give me 20 minutes. I'm in. If I don't find anything, I'm done.
Yeah. So
yeah, I like to go ahead.
I'd say toys wise, we love and I think this comes from our love of San Diego Comic-Con. We love fighting crowds for those limited edition stuff. And so if it's a pre-order,
we'll stand in line for anything.
Yeah. And if it's a pre-order, I plan my whole day around it because I know I'm going to get it. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to find a way to get it, even if I have to overpay for it. So we do a lot of pre-orders.
We love the rush so much that we go sit in line for Black Friday sales just to sit in line and not like, people will be like, are you here for the TVs? No, we're just here because we like
really
on with everybody.
Like what is it about the line? Like I know you guys like to go to Disney, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But like, what is it about is it just kind of hanging out, talking to each other, the crowd, just like the whole thing?
Like everybody being excited about like getting in, like it's the adrenaline rush.
So we are San Diego Comic-Con junkies. We've been going to San Diego Comic-Con for years, and we wait 18 hours to get into the Marvel panel. So lines don't bother us. That's when people say, "Oh my gosh, that ride at Disney World's 90 minutes." We're like, please. We stood in line 18 hours to get into the Marvel panel.
Fast pass? I don't need a fast pass.
And that's where you get to. I think that's where you get to know people, right? You get to know people. You ask questions, and then you find out these people dork out over the same things we do. So we're people. We love people. We believe that people is on this planet is the thing that you need to invest in the most. And so we like talking to people and finding out what they do. One of my first questions, even in my professional life, is, what do you geek out about? What do you dork into? And they're like,
usually people don't know right off what you mean. And we're like, what do you love?
What do you love the most? And I think that's where we find asking those questions. And
he asks our servers that. Yeah. He asks when we're checking out at the grocery store, he'll ask the person checking us out, what do you dork out about?
Yeah, because everybody dorks out about something.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Like, I just recently, like my daughter, I didn't think, because neither one of them really are into like the comic books, or even my oldest daughter is not into collecting. Like, she's almost like a minimalist, like she doesn't need much. Now, my youngest daughter, I just recently discovered she likes these things called mushmallows. It's like a stuffed animal.
Okay.
But you can only get them at like Walgreens. Yeah. Okay. And so like she called me the other day and said, "Hey Dad, there's this new mushmallow out. I need you to stop. They got it in this color, this color, this color." and I want this one. And I thought, that is my child. That finally, that is my child, because that's what I would do to my dad and my uncle. Like, hey, this, they used to work my guts out for basketball cards. Okay. Like I would cut weeds. They wouldn't let me use a weed eater. I had to use a skiff, or we called it a man maker, a weed hook. And they would work me to death for a box of basketball cards. It was just insane. It's criminal, which I came out pretty good, because most of those cards were the Jordan rookie year, the 86 Fleer. And I came out like a bandit on that deal. I used to give my uncle the hardest time about that. But yeah, no, it's just, there is a rush to, like, I like the gold digging aspect of it, right?
Sure.
Like going, because where we live, like where I sit right now, the closest comic book store is an hour away.
Wow.
Okay. Now it is 5 minutes from my office, where I go most days. That same comic book store is just 5 minutes from there. So it's very spread out here. So it's different how we have to go find stuff. So we do a lot of stuff online, but I like going with my uncle because he was a picker, right? Like American Pickers. He was Mike Wolf. That's what I tell everybody. He was Mike Wolf. And that gold digging, the aspect of like treasure hunting, that's what always kind of gave me the rush. And I don't mind standing in a line either. Like, that stuff to get something, I don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's cool. No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, like we can hang out. Like I realize we can hang out.
Yeah.
All right, question 4. And I want to talk about your YouTube channel just a little bit. Like, what brought you guys to starting a YouTube channel?
So our goal, and I don't think we publicly stated this, our goal, I keep going back to San Diego Comic-Con, is to moderate a panel at San Diego Comic-Con. We believe that YouTube is going to be one of those things, and we said that from the very beginning. That's our end goal, right? Our end goal is not this many subscribers or this many things. Our end goal is to moderate a panel at San Diego Comic-Con. So that's in my opinion. I mean, we never want to be like known as, nothing wrong with this, but we never want to be known as just a comic book channel. We want to be known as somebody that is into pop culture and anything like that, dork out and stuff like that. So that when the right time comes, and we believe it's going to be soon, when the right time comes, we get to moderate one of those panels. That's how much we love, going to those conventions and being around those type people. And that's me. I don't know about you. Would you agree?
Oh, I agree. That's our goal. The reason we started our channel,
It was her idea.
The year that we started was one of those years where I was like, oh my God, almost every single month we had a trip planned that revolved around dorking out. Like and I was like, this is going to be an incredible year. We're going to this con, this con, this con. We're going to Disney. We're going to Disneyland. And it was like, I just feel like this is a lot of stuff we should be documenting how fun this is for us and our 2 kids that were really young at the time. I think that was the same year I decided to start homeschooling. So our kids were going to be with us all the time. So that's the reason we started. It was just an incredible year that I wanted to share with people. And then soon after that, COVID hit and travels went. And that's when we focused our joy on the comic collecting. And so that's where you see right now that we're in the midst of, like, most of our shows are about comic books, because that's our outlet right now in the middle of everything going on.
But in the end, we have a passion, and you can help, energy, lots of energy, and we need some outlet to get that energy out there.
Yeah.
And that's why we do the YouTube, and we just, hey, we like life. We have a joy in life, and we want people to say, hey, there's good things out there. There may be some bad things out there, that's going on, but in the midst of all that, there's lots of good things that can bring you joy, and you can dork out about. You can find some connection with your family. And that's why we do our YouTube.
I love your channel. It's very infectious. Like, your personalities are very infectious. Like, it's exciting because I feel the same way. I'm like, I feel that way too. Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
What were you going to say, Fair?
I was just going to say, like, we're not critics. We don't want to be critics. We don't want to get on and talk about, this sucked and they didn't do that well. Like, honestly, one of our mottos is, if it's not fun, like, what's the point in doing it? And so we never want to be critics on anything that we do. We just want people to have joy in life.
Yeah.
So.
And a great example is like with DC movies. You know, there are people like, oh my gosh, I hated this Justice League and Snyder Cut, stuff like that. I tell my kids, and I tell this about, tell them about anything, whether it's TV, movies, anything at all. I said, somebody poured their heart and soul into that. So if we're negative and we say this sucks or this is all that critic, that's somebody that thought, man, I gave everything I had to this. I am proud of this film. And I never want to tear down anything, whether it's a comic book, whether it's a TV show, a movie, a figure, anything like that. I never want to tear down anything that somebody poured their whole life and a lot of time into. I try to tell my kids that, there's somebody out there that really loves that. And, we can say it's not for us. There's nothing wrong with that. But as far as us saying, man, that Snyder Cut really sucked. Man, I can't believe that, I did that. That's never gonna be us. And hey, if you do it, more power to you, but it's just not our thing.
Yeah, no, I love that attitude. Like, I'm the person I feel, I don't know, I don't feel anyway. I don't care. I don't know how to say this the right way. Like, I love everything.
Yeah.
Okay, whether it's a mystery box, some mystery boxes are better than others, right? There are, but I like everything. I can find, like, if I get a mystery box and there's a bunch of random comics in it that I've never read, I'm like, cool. I got something new to read, and maybe I have found, new titles to read out of things like that. I love all movies. I don't care. Like, movies do their job for me. My life is very hectic. My real life is really hectic and very scheduled. And when I do get the chance to sit down and watch a movie, it's an escape for me. Absolutely. And that's the same thing a comic book is. It's an escape for me. Some movies are better than others, but it does its job, and I enjoy them all. That's just who I am. And like, sometimes, I see people like movie critics. I'm like, dude, that movie was pretty good. I mean, like, it did its job for me. Yeah. I geeked out for 2 hours and zoned out and didn't have to think about anything else. So, yeah. What about the name, the Dorkeries? I mean, I think I know why the Dorkeries came about, but you go ahead and talk about it.
So I remember the day that we decided we were going to start our YouTube channel. We were actually on a walk in our neighborhood, and it was just he and I. And so we were just chatting about, here's what we want to do. What would be a fun name for ourselves? And so we were playing with lots of different things. When we came across, I was like, what if we just talk about all the things that we dork about? And what if at the end of every episode we say, go dork yourself? And that was like the end of it. We were like, we're gonna say, go dork yourself at the end of every episode, and we'll call ourselves the Dorkeries. So our real name is Dorkery, Dockery, Ery. Dockery.
Wow.
So we changed one letter and made it Dork for the simple fact because we wanted to say, go dork yourself.
Yeah.
I love it.
Our favorite YouTube channel, there's lots, but one of our favorite YouTube channels is the Tim Tracker. And at the end of everything, he always says, and now it's time to pay the price. And so we were like, we always remember that, and we always wait to the end. We're like, we need a little catch thing like Tim Tracker does, our favorite YouTube channel. And so that's where that started from, the go dork yourself, and then the name just came out of that.
That's awesome. I love that. It's a great story. I love that. Has your content changed much since you started the channel? Like, mine keeps going through this evolution of different things, but has your all's changed a whole lot since you started?
I think we always want to evolve, right? And that's where I was saying earlier, we don't want to just get known for one thing. We want to kind of broaden our content. But yeah, I mean, obviously the things changed, and behind us, if you go to our early videos, it was a Mondo poster and we were sitting on 2 chairs. Then it goes to my office, and now we're behind the slab of comics. So,
and FYI, I hate these chairs, so we're going to change that again soon.
So, I think with anything in life, you can never get comfortable with where you're at. I think that there's always room to evolve and kind of continue to improve yourself.
Video wise, a lot of our first videos we weren't out of the house, so you'll see our very first video was at our LCS was at Free Comic Book Day. And then our next few videos were of us traveling in Florida and things like that. Like I said, because of what's going on in the world right now, a lot of our videos take place here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really fun to watch people out filming with half their face covered up. So that's most of our videos take place here with us opening mail.
Yeah, but I think it'll evolve. And of course, we know, right? We know people love our CGC unboxings. We love doing them. And we'll continue to do those, but we don't want it. We want to just, like I said, just evolve and do more content. And absolutely, a year from now, it probably won't look as it does today.
Sure.
We hope it'll be even better.
That's awesome. No, and you're right though. Constantly, like I look at, which I'm very analytical. It's just who I am. It's what I do day to day. I'm just very analytical. So I look a lot at the analytics and I adjust things every quarter. Like I almost run it like it's my business. Like it, but it truly, YouTube has become a hobby for me as much as the hobby itself. Like I enjoy this. Like it's fun to meet other people and talk about, geek out with other people about all the stuff that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Question 5.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about this because you all legit put out one of the sickest mystery boxes I have seen. And I tried, like, I wanted to buy this last round. It sold out so fast, but like I had a timer set and everything to go and buy one. But then my real job took over, and it is what it is. And look, there were some big boy channels that bought your box this time. I mean, Franchise Kicks bought one of your boxes. There's not a bigger YouTube channel. Wink Inc., awesome unboxing channel. My boy DJ Links, I got to help ref a battle when him and Rob Fatstacks did a box battle. What got you guys into building these mystery boxes, and why did you choose kind of the higher end? I mean, because look, they are sick. Like, I mean, there are phenomenal books in there, and I can't say that enough. If you're watching this and they put out a mystery box, you need to just go watch like the preview books of what they put in these things. It is ridiculous. It's the greatest. It is phenomenal. So I'll quit gushing over your mystery box.
Oh,
what got you into doing the mystery boxes, and kind of talk about how you build them and those things?
Well, I think number one for me was I want to give people books that they can put in their collection and be proud of, or number two, they can turn it into something that they really want their collection. So I don't believe like I'm a seller of mystery boxes or we're seller of mystery boxes. I like to curate. I like every one of our boxes is like handpicked. It's like, if I were to open up this box, if we were to open up this box on our channel, would we be proud of this box? Would it be something that we would be excited about? And again, not being critical of others. I know a lot of the mystery boxes out there have variants. They have new comic book day and those kind of things. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're into. But we just wanted to put something out there where your very first book, the filler book, that $10, $15 book, was a Silver Age Daredevil. Is it in great, 9.0 or better condition? No, but it's a good mid-grade, and it's the first book. And that's just an example. And I think that's what we wanted to do. And of course, ultimately, we want to, with those mystery boxes, invest in things we like as well. So we want the hobby to always fund itself, because I promised her many years ago that I would never take money out of the family budget to buy stuff with. And that's one of the main things too, from a financial standpoint. When we sell those, we just want to do it. But in the end, we just like seeing people dork out about stuff.
He puts a lot. It's obvious if you guys know us, if you guys watch us, he's the one that puts those together. I help with the taping and the boxes and I number them. I'm the one that numbers them after he packs them, but he's the one that curates the boxes. And he spends months shopping for them. Most of the stuff comes from his own collection. But then he shops for big things. He's like, I want to add something special to that one. I want to add something special to that one. He puts his heart and soul into it. And it's because he wants people to be so thrilled when they get them. He honestly, if somebody was to even say like, I didn't like that book, his heart would be broken.
Yes.
Because he wants everyone to be ecstatic about it. And the only stipulation I had on him doing it was, hey, if you're going to do mystery boxes, you're going to protect our reputation, because I've seen people get mystery boxes and then call out people and be like, that's the worst thing I ever paid for. I was like, if you're doing mystery boxes, people better be getting their money's worth, and they better love us for what they get. So he puts his all into that.
And you asked about high end. The reason I wanted them to be high end, because I knew that I'm a high end shopper. And I wanted people to have that. And if you're spending, like this last round was $430 shipped. And the minimum value box was like $540. That's the minimum. Like, so you're making $100. And when I go in to do the last sold, I don't do the, like, let's say if there was a Captain America 100 and it was in 5.0 condition, in my opinion, I don't go in and look at the last sale of 8.0 and
Sure.
slap that on the comic. I don't do that. I look for whatever that comic's, my condition of the comic that's in that box, it matches that eBay. I match it so that if you were to go and sell that comic, you would get that price back. So that's why we feel like you're going to get more than your money, at least $100. So you're not really taking a big risk with our mystery boxes. And then the top prize box was like, it's like $1,000. So you're more than doubling your money. But I wanted not just people to say, oh my gosh, I got that person got the grand prize. There was only one GP. I want everybody to feel like winners. And so that's our mystery box.
That's awesome. No, how long does it take? I mean, legit, it takes you months to put those together. I mean, once you curate it, once you're starting, because that is fun to do. I sell a few mystery boxes here and there. Nothing that high level. It's, but it is fun to curate and do those things. You said something, and I want to kind of expound on this a little bit because I think it's an important topic in the collecting community, and that is collecting within a budget and the hobby itself funding itself. Because I made the exact same promise to my wife many years ago that I would never spend money from our personal budget, from our jobs, on my collection. I have always sold, and that comes naturally to me because of being around my uncle. It's natural for me to do that. How important is it? Like, kind of talk to the collectors out there that are watching this about how you budget and what you buy, and always staying within your means. And I know it's not a financial show; we're talking about geek stuff, but it's important in what we do, in making sure you stay within your means, so that the hobby is never, you can't pay your house payment because you were out buying comic books. Can you speak to that some?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like, and Franchise Kicks, you brought that up. He says that with his mystery boxes that he opens, he's like, listen, if you can't afford to do this, don't do it. He said, I never, he always, Clint's a super nice guy. He's actually the second box that he bought. And I've always enjoyed Clint, and he does that. He says, listen, this is the things. I'm not using my money to get these pops or the shoes that's behind him. I'm not using my electricity bill. I'm not using my kids need school clothes. I'm not using that stuff. So I think it's important on that. But the thing is, because our hobby, especially the comic book collecting hobby, is so big right now, you can legit make money on that. I tell, for example, I don't just go on Facebook Marketplace to buy comics. I go on Facebook Marketplace. Right now, there's an old G.I. Joe collection.
It's
right
all
there.
over the floor in front.
It's not mine that I grew up with. It's stuff that I bought. I paid $60 for it, and there's probably $700 to $1,000 worth of G.I. Joe stuff sitting right there. So I'm going to put the time into it, and I'm going to sell it, and that money is going to go to comics or other toys or whatever it is,
or school clothes,
or school clothes. There's money to be had, but you can't start with the money that's earmarked for other stuff. Yeah. You have to go out. Somebody can probably afford $60, but you got to put it, buy those G.I. Joe toys. But if you put in the hustle, you can turn that $60 into $600, $700, $800, $1,000, and then all of a sudden you've got that $1,000 to go buy you one of those comics that's behind the wall. So I'm an investor first. Right? I play the stock market. I do those type things. I love investing because I know there's money to be had out there.
And we give.
we give.
We don't believe you can get anything unless you give.
Yeah. So like with my mystery boxes, I'm giving you're getting $1,000 worth for the $400. So I could have made $1,000 if I sold those straight off eBay, but I'm giving those people. But I know it's going to come back around to me, and it's going to fund itself. So again, I think the number one thing is, you hit it, Jimmy. The number one thing is, don't ever spend money that's earmarked for personal life.
Fair. How do you feel about that?
Yes, this was obviously something. It's clear we've worked on this a lot in our marriage. We've been married for 18 years. And Drew has always loved to shop. Even when we were dating, I'd be like, he'd get paid and I'd be like, how many DVDs did you buy out of your paycheck this week? It has always been a thing. It's always been something we work on communicating with each other about. I will say this for adrenaline junkies, and I'm trying to be quick because I know
we talk a lot.
But
I do too.
Adrenaline junkies. So Drew and I have had a lot of years early in our marriage where we struggled financially. But we've always liked to collect. So I'm going to give two examples of things you can do if you're the adrenaline collector, but you don't have a lot of money and you don't need to be taking money away from your family. I remember a time when on Friday nights, we didn't have any money for anything fun, but we needed that adrenaline. And we would go walk the end caps at Target where they keep all their clearance. And we'd be like, all right, we have $10 to spend tonight. And that's an adrenaline rush to be like, what can we find to get this rush on a $10 budget doing clearance things? Go to a thrift store. But we did the same thing for our groceries. There were times early in our marriage where we had $20 a week for groceries. But you know what? We made a game out of that. And we would go to Kroger and we'd be like, how many $1 things can we find at Kroger to like be our groceries for this week? We were buying $1 bags of potato chips, $1 cartons of eggs. We would make egg sandwiches for a week because we got those for $1. And then we would double bag our potato chips, and those would be our garbage bags. We were like, we don't want the potato chips to break on the way home. Triple bag those suckers. That was our garbage bags for the week. Do people want to live that way? No, but we got our adrenaline rush and our collecting need from things like that.
Yeah. If people want something, if they really want something, they'll find a way to do it.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I've been through the same thing. I think we all at some point, and it's like I said, it's funny just sitting here talking to you guys because a lot of the things that you're saying, I've been married for 17 years. Amy's always known who I am. So, as far as that goes. And I wasn't always in the position I am today. I had to work to get here, and I would make it fun. Like if we were broke, we would try to figure out how much fun can we have for $15? It's just, I don't know. It's just funny to hear y'all say that. And I think those are great tips as far as if you need that adrenaline rush, do that. It's kind of fun. So one last thing about the mystery boxes.
Okay.
Are you going to sell some more? Because I got to buy one. So it's like I said, I've got to. I don't know if I can pre-order it, what can happen, but I need to get one because, like I said, I legit set an alarm. The alarm went off, and I just couldn't go. Like I was just so involved in what we were doing at the time, I couldn't go and do anything else. So will you be putting out more in the future?
We will. It will probably, we kind of like the gap in between of, a month in between. So we sold one in August. I'm not confirming 100%, but our next one is likely October. So we'll probably do one every other month. Will they always be 27 boxes? I was like, what was I doing? But again, that was pouring my heart and soul into that. So the next one, it may be a little bit tighter because another thing too, like with 27 boxes, we were thinking it's going to take us a while to sell these out.
30 minutes.
30 minutes. We sold.
Yeah, they were gone. Like I said, my alarm went off. I went back. I had to finish what I was doing, but it probably took me an hour. What I was involved in probably took about an hour. And I went back immediately, went and grabbed my phone, and they were sold out. I was like, crap, but it is what it is.
Life gets in the way. I get it.
Well, no, but that's how good of a mystery box you put out. I had an alarm set because I knew, right? I mean, they were going to sell quick. Even if it was 27 boxes, I knew they were going to sell.
Yeah.
And so I set the alarm for it, and but like I said, it happens. So,
but yes, to answer your question, there will be more Dork Yourself mystery boxes.
Yes. All right. Question 6. Go dork yourself. No. All right. So question 6, and this is something. It was a video I watched on your channel. I just wanted you to expound on it here, and that is the CGC hack. So talk about the CGC hack a little bit. Explain that
Very
video. And if you're watching, yes,
if
you are watching this, go watch that video and go to their channel. It's the Dorkery's YouTube channel, and I don't know, it didn't come out that long ago. It's been, it's fairly recent. But talk about that video. Talk about it.
No worries. So we all know CGC turnaround times are crazy right now. And, you know, one of the things that we try to do is protect the investment. So we get our comic books cleaned and pressed. And by Erod,
2, 1, 2.
the presser's presser. So if I'm spending that kind of money to press my books and make that investment into those books, and the reason I'm doing that is because I want high grades, and I send them down to CGC, and they sit before they're even open for 6 to 7 weeks. And again, hey, let's be thankful that our hobby is so big that CGC is backed up that much, right? Always look at the positive side of things. There are people out there that want their books graded. You're making an investment. So bottom line, it took 6 to 7 weeks for them to open the box, and then 100+ days for those to do it. I thought there's got to be a way. And of course, I did some research, and we weren't the first people to come up with this hack. But we realized that we could get them to open that box and knock off at least 6 to 7 weeks and protect that pressing job. Because pressing jobs go away over time, especially in that humidity, that type of things. The pressing defects will come back into your books, even if they're in a box. So we want to protect that. So we knew that get them to open up the box was either to do a walkthrough or an express. So basically, when you write EX or walkthrough on the outside of your box, then when that comes into the receiving of CGC, they open up that box. Now, if you have other books that aren't marked for express, that, for example, we had Express Modern in that last shipment that we did. So if those are in there, then they can't just open up, pull the walkthrough box out, and leave the other ones in there, tape it back up. They have to take them all out at the same time. And then they have to put them into the system because they have to put them into, you know, whatever their thing is over there to make sure they're in the system. So it worked, and we cut those down. Now, I will say this too. We have gone through a lot of CGC issues. We were very vocal about it. We called Sarasota, you know, and they kind of knew we had some problems. And I think as long as you're not yelling at them and constantly calling them and saying, what's going on with you guys? You know, I think there's customer service people there that I think people mark your accounts. So I think if you're calling, I'm just being honest. It's my opinion. I have no factual evidence. But if you're calling into CGC and yelling at them, I know for a fact, there are room in the notes on your account for that customer service person to put in there. And I would never want a customer service person putting in there, this guy's a jerk. He yells at me. And because that grader pops up your account, he's like, this guy's a jerk. I ain't giving him a 9.8. So, again, so I think they knew who we were. I think they saw the accounts. They know some of the problems they were having. So I think that they opened that back up. But I know for a fact that other people who don't have the reputation, that type of thing, had the same. It works. The hack works. And again, I don't think we're trying to beat the system. If CGC doesn't like it, if CGC doesn't like it, take it away. And I am paying for that one, this Fantastic 453 that you can't see up there. That was the one that I walked through, so to speak, and it cost me $100. So in the end, that's how we did it. We did that. We put other orders in there, and we got our last CGC Fast Track Modern. I think it was like 32 days, and it was 109 at the time. So it cut a lot of time off. So,
yeah, well, that's a big conversation in the hobby today. You know, is CGC and really the grading companies in general. And I'm like you. You know, the hobby's so strong right now that it's kind of a good problem. You know, in a way. Now, does it suck that it takes sometimes 9 months to get your book back? Sure, it does. Yeah. I would like my book backs a lot faster than that.
Sure.
But you know, at the same time, the hobby that we're in and that we love is very strong right now, and that's a good thing.
Yep.
So, yeah, absolutely. All right. So, question 7 is, and this has a lot to do with, you know, what we've talked about in being an investor and the market itself. You know, the comic market, specifically, really everything has just been crazy. You know, for the past year and a half, the prices that you're seeing on these books have just been ridiculous. Like, I have been more of a seller than I have been a buyer of older keys and things like that right now. And I'm buying a lot of DC stuff, like, on the side, because I think with HBO Max and all that stuff that, eventually that's going to help. So, do you think this market can sustain itself?
As long as the MCU, as long as Disney Plus is around, as long as HBO Max is around, absolutely. I think it will continue to do that because there will always be, Funko's not going anywhere. Hasbro's not going anywhere. Mattel's not going anywhere. All those things that have these intellectual properties, Disney is not going anywhere. So as long as Disney and all those are still in business, then the comic book, there are always going to be new people into our hobby. Always. There's always going to be new people into collecting, whether it's toys, whether it's pops, whether it's books, whether it's anything. There's always going to be a new market. I don't think this market is going anywhere. And I don't think Marvel MCU is going anywhere. And I think DCU is going to fix its stuff too. I love the Suicide Squad.
I did too. I watched it last night. It was different. It was very violent. But I loved it. Like, I thought it was great.
Yeah. And I think as long as there's those type of things going out, then there's always going to be people that are going to jump in.
And that's just comics. And I know that's what you're referring to, but at least where we live, at least in our country, and countries like ours, people are always going to be looking for that outlet. If you look at what happened during COVID, you couldn't find Legos anywhere. And I know we're still in COVID, but you know what I mean? During the quarantine time, right. You couldn't find Legos anywhere. Pokemon cards got popular all over again. Like, they were
hard to stop selling them.
And that's because people find that outlet. People were buying Legos. They're like, oh, we have to stay home. We can't go anywhere. Let's build Lego. And so they did that. So I just feel like people are always going to be looking for that outlet. Right now, comics are great because, like you said, of all the media that's coming out.
Yeah. And will some of this stuff always have those huge prices we've seen? Who knows? But in the end, I think there will always be value to those, because there was value to the same things I was telling you about when I was a kid. There was value at those times, those values of those comics and those Star Wars Kenner. There were people lined up for those Kenner Star Wars. Always.
Go ahead. For you, I lost your sound for just a second there. Go ahead.
I was saying there was always in the 80s, there was always people lined up in the 90s, in the 70s, in the 60s. There's always going to be people, like she says, that want that adrenaline rush, that collect things. So it's not going anywhere.
I agree. Well, and I agree with you. Like, too, like, Star Wars is so hot right now, right? Like, all the Star Wars stuff. And I may be completely off on this, but I think, obviously it's because of Disney Plus and what's going on with Disney Plus, but also the fact that they built an entire section of their park at Hollywood Studios that is dead. There is a life-size Millennium Falcon sitting in that park. When I saw that, and I am 46 years old, I about passed out. You talking about, like, freaking out, because, like, the Millennium Falcon, if I anything that flies, it would be the Millennium Falcon. And I don't know if that's because Han Solo, I don't know, but when I saw that, you talking about flipping out, I was like, oh my God. And then I got to get in it like I was flying it. I was like, what is going on? But I think, stuff like that, and then, you've Disney with the Marvel side of things, they'll end up doing that in the parks. And I just think it's going to keep going and going. Now, let me ask you this question about, like, what I think the blue chip books, like what I would call blue chip books, true investment books, I think those will always continue to increase. But the new stuff, like you'll see on new comic book, exactly what you've got behind you. The new stuff, though, like you'll see a new comic book come out that I paid $3 for at the LCS, and it is $20 on eBay in a day. I don't know that can sustain itself because of the FOMO. Do you agree with that?
I do, but if that's what you collect, great. But I agree with that, because there's things that won't hold that value over time, but it's always about what? Supply and demand.
Sure.
There's lots of supply of those new stuff. There's not lots of supply of, that's why investors that aren't comic book, like the stock market traders, are getting into our hobby. Because if you look on the census of there it is right there. If you look on the census of Ultimate Fallout 4, first print, CGC 9.8, minute. I mean, it's
Minute,
compared
absolutely.
to like even the sports cards, people that come in. There's how many of those Michael Jordan Flair rookie, 10s are there? There's thousands of those out there. There's not that many CGC 9.8 Ultimate Fallout 4. So it's supply and demand. The stuff that's got a high supply won't be able to sustain itself because is there demand? Yes, but there's plenty of supply going around. But the blue chip books that you're talking about, there's not a lot of those out there.
Nope.
And people are going to pay top price to try to beat and get that. And that's why I always said our family, our investments is more in the blue chip books and not the new comic book day, because we know over time there's that supply and demand it's gonna be a lot more expensive to get those things
Right.
and pass down that to the family. I got a Harley Quinn first appearance up there, and my daughter already knows that's going to her when she does. Now, does she want a Harley Quinn variant copy of that came out a couple of weeks ago? Because she knows that's not worth that much money because there's so many of those out there, but there's not a lot of CGC graded of Harley Quinn's first appearance. So ultimately, to answer your question, it comes down to supply and demand.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. All right, question 8. And Fair, this question is really for you, okay? And this has to do with the indie market, okay? And right now, I mean, you hear people talk about it all the time, and I know I am one of these people as a reader. Superman is my favorite character. He will always be. I love him. I relate to Clark Kent very much. I just, being small town, Midwestern value, small town values. But people seem to be going to, like in my pull list, when I bring my books home to read, Superman's on top if it came out that week. Action Comics is on top. Then the next 6 books will be indie books of some kind. Why do you think that people are, I mean, I'm not saying that they're going away from the big two. Everybody has their nostalgia for Superman and Spider-Man and Batman and Hulk and all those guys. But people, as far as interest, seem to be going to indie comic books as much as they are anything. Why do you think that is?
Simplified, I feel like indie books write more towards what we now in this time are used to seeing on TV shows and movies. They write, when I read an indie book, most of the time, I feel like I'm reading a script for a movie or a plot for a movie. And a lot of the big two you said, I feel like are still in a traditional mindset, an old school mindset. But I can read an indie book and feel like, whoa, that's going to be a movie soon. That's going to be a TV show soon. And so we like that newness of things that I've never heard of that. I've never thought of that. And it kind of just fits into mainstream culture now and not old school culture.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, again, let's take Stranger Things, for example. That was, it was a really, nobody ever thought about those type, but it was still so good, right? And those are the type of things that come out of independent type comics. The Umbrella Academy, great example. Gerard Way.
You just mentioned 2 Dark Horse comics.
Yeah,
both
Gerard,
I collect.
Gerard Way, for example. What a brilliant mind. But he just comes up with stuff that, is not, again, like you said, Superman, how many times can we tell the Krypton story, right?
Sure.
But Umbrella Academy, that mind. So I do think that I think the newer minds are going towards that independent, that are coming up with a brand new, never thought about that. The Paper Girls, there's tons of those indie labels out there. The Boys, it's just that's what we're looking for, and that's that fresh story, that not the rehashed. Peter Parker's having a hard time at high school,
and there's still a place for that.
There
we
is.
love that. But like you said, Gerard Way, when I read like his bios and stuff like that, and I'm like, where do people like this?
Mind.
Where do people like this come from?
Well, I read this book the other day. Did you read Bunny Mask?
I haven't.
Whoever, I can't even remember the name of the author right now, but that book blew my mind. Like when I first started reading it, I was like, this is really weird. And the art was kind of weird. And, and then I got to the end and I was hooked. Like I was like, oh god, like I cannot wait for number 2 to come out. Like Nice House on the Lake is another one.
Yeah.
Something That's Killing the Children is another one. Like it is fair. Do you think that it is like a golden age for indies right now? Like I mean, there is such good writing.
I do, absolutely. And it kind of just feels like a new sci-fi era, kind of like a new, like out of the box. And I love that. But yeah, I think that we are in an indie era, and Netflix is catching on. Amazon's catching on.
There's just so much good indie stuff out there from the media standpoint, and they're just pulling from really good comic books.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I agree with what Farrah said. A lot of times when you're reading it, it is almost like you're reading a script, except you've got the pictures to go with. Like it's a storyboard with a script, and you're getting to see what the actor reads when they get ready to, figure out what the movie's going to be all about or the show. Like I said, I don't know. I still read my nostalgic from the big 2. I still read all those books. I always will because I love them.
Absolutely.
But as far as like true interest, the indies have got me. Like I am absolutely hooked. So, all right, last 2 questions, and these are easy questions just to learn a little more about you. Okay. So, question number 9 is, obviously you're very invested in your fandom and your hobbies and things like that. But do you guys, is there anything else you like to do? Like do you dig music? Because like where did this singing voice come from? Like I hear you sing; it's so beautiful. Do you sing professionally? I want to make sure I get that in there.
Professionally, no. I do sing at least twice a week.
So do I.
He does.
You do.
We do sing for people, and I have been singing my entire life. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and I've heard "Will you please shut up" more times than I can count, but I never have. And I do sing a lot.
We sing before hundreds of people.
Twice a week.
Really? Well, that's cool. Yeah, no, like I hear, I don't know if I've ever heard you sing. I hear Farrah sing from time to time.
I try to fake it. I try to fake it because I don't like singing solos. I am the low part harmony. That's my job. So I fill in the lead voice. So it's my job to make the lead voice sound even better.
That's awesome.
He does that.
So you guys sing. I mean, is music a big part of your life? Like I know, like the other thing too, because like I said, I'm just a collector at heart. Like I've gotten into vinyl, like old vinyl, listening to music on the record player. My baby loves vinyl, like loves it, and I don't know where that comes from for her because she's never experienced it before. But she was the one that got me into that.
You answer.
I don't think we can't play any instruments. And we don't really collect music. We jam music out for the sake of being 40-year-olds who dance around our house like dorks. Yeah. We do that, but I wouldn't say like music is.
I say travels are a big thing. Traveling. We love to travel, and we're going to Iceland next year. We love cruises. We obviously go to Disney because we have passes to those. We go to conventions. We love going to California. We're one of those weird people that, from the South that loves going to California. So we're not big beach. I'm not a big beach person, that type of thing. But anytime we can travel with the family, because we know that ultimately memories, a lot of those memories will never go away for our kids. And we want our kids to have, long lasting memories of traveling. So family and travel is probably
that's our number one.
That's our number one.
Our kids are about to go back to school, but one of our kids have been homeschooled for 4 years. My other has been home for a year and a half doing virtual school. So Drew has worked at home for 12 years. So for 12 years, we have been together every single
24/7
day of the week.
Because we travel a lot too, and Amy and I are big foodies, and we're not really foodies in our day to day, but when we travel, we are because we want to try different cuisine. Like wherever we are, whatever the local cuisine is, or we like to try that. Do you guys enjoy that as well?
Oh, absolutely. We like to try things different. We don't when we go to a city outside of our area. We don't want to go to the franchise restaurants. That's not what we want to do.
Our daughter usually does a lot of that research for us.
Yep.
So she'll find things, she'll YouTube things and find out what's in that town, and then she'll be like, "Can we go to this restaurant?" And can we go? She's the one that does a lot of that research for us.
And I'll go to Yelp and I'll look at all the reviews and those type things, and I go, "Yep, you found a good one." So absolutely, we want to make sure that what we're going to outside of those towns is like one that's really well known and that can't miss restaurant, that can't miss food. So we're always looking for that.
Cool. All right. Question 10.
Yep.
Is there anything that you guys are on the hunt for right now, like grail wise, like either one of you, like whether it's a comic book or a toy or a Funko Pop or a board game, whatever it is there anything that you're on the hunt for right now that you really, really want for your personal collection?
I'm on the hunt for, I don't know. I know that he's waiting on that big Galactus.
Yes.
I know he's already put his name on that.
I'm not hunting for that.
As far as hunting, no, I have some comic books that I need to get that are like on my get list, but they're not hunt worthy, I don't think.
I'd say for me, there are things that I have sold over the last few years that I have regrets. I know we should never have regrets in any hobby. But there's one that I wish I hadn't have sold, and that was or actually I traded, was an Iron Man 55 first appearance of Thanos. I have a Thanos shelf over there, and right now I've got the Silver Surfer with 30 something graded on there. I would love to put an Iron Man 55 first appearance of Thanos in its place, so I'm on the hunt for an Iron Man 55 first appearance of Thanos.
Good deal. Guys, that's the 10 questions, and that was a lot of fun. that was so much fun. Like I said, it was, I've met a lot of people doing this, and it's probably my favorite thing to do is to do 10 questions. Awesome. But we could hang out. Like, we have a lot of the same experiences. I guess that's being we're probably close in age. And, we've chewed a lot of the same dirt. That's what we like to say here in the hills is we've chewed a lot of the same dirt. And I've had an absolute blast talking to you guys. You guys are really a genuine couple that you seem to have a lot of fun together. My wife and I have a lot of fun together. And so it relates to me. We're a big family as far as family people. We are. Everything we do together. And that's why your channel, I think, stands out so much to me. And I'm so glad I found you guys and so glad that you agreed to come on 10 Questions because, like I said, it's been 100% a blast. So, everybody, if you're watching, in the description below, I'll have links to, Instagram, YouTube, anywhere that you can find the Dorkeries. Make sure you stay on the lookout for the Go Dork Yourself mystery box. That's the greatest name for a mystery box ever. And I always like to end and kind of talk about what I've got going on with Street Level Hero LA. I have the code over there, STC10. You use that code, you get 10% off your order. But most importantly, 25% of your order is donated to the American Cancer Society for cancer research. Very, very important cause to me. Guys, thank you. Any final words?
No. Go dork yourself.
That's the best place we could end this. Thanks, everybody, for watching and spending a little time here with us on the SmallTown Collectibles YouTube channel. This has been 10 Questions.
Woo-woo.